Hi there, welcome to FMCG by Alex. Today I would like to talk to you about innovation in FMCG. Innovation in FMCG. FMCG is what you would call a slower moving industry, so not like tech where you constantly have innovation at its core, but you need to be on your toes with FMCG and you need to develop. Especially the thing you need to develop is the ongoing value proposition. There are consumer wants and needs. So what consumer wants and what consumer needs. Needs always trump wants, basically. So needs are more important, more pressing. So things that are actually daily needs or daily requirements from consumers are trumping the wants. Wants are also the first things you are scaling back on when there is a recession or when you have less discretionary income to spend. Of course, innovation also depends on the new technologies becoming available. So, new technologies in food processing, new technologies in packaging, new raw materials, new things, new processes that actually become available. Making also things not only more efficient, but maybe sometimes also better, or the actual working is different of a product. Um, then, of course, you have the fact that there are a lot of changing consumer behaviors and trends. So, consumers actually behave differently now than they behaved, let's say, in the 80s or the 90s, especially because of the advent of new technology that impacts our lives. So, if you look at cell phones, for example, in the 80s, of course, you didn't have a cell phone. In maybe the 2000s, actually, it became a very common thing for us. And smartphones, of course, 2010 and onwards, basically, smartphones became really part of our daily lives. It's the way we process information, the way we are looking at life, and also things that influence us, of course. So, what we're spending time on. If you look at smartphone use, like there are people who spend maybe 5, 6, 7, maybe 8 hours a day on their smartphone because they make it integral part of their life. That's a very different thing from back. When you say 30, 40 years ago, basically, where consumers actually have no access to that technology and maybe had to, connect to some sort of online service through a dial-up modem, what's called a BBS or something like that. All these things are actually the access to information was there, but yeah, rather than actually opening a book, they actually now open Wikipedia or you ask ChatGPT basically or some other AI-driven tool basically. And there, of course, are a lot of trends actually that are connected to that. People maybe are spending more time traveling to work. They are maybe having different holiday destinations. There are a lot of trends actually that are part of our daily life. The way you actually use public transport, for example, that could be a different routine in your life. And of course, time spent on exercise, how you eat, where you eat. The meal delivery services, for example, are different ways of consuming food. So that also has an impact on FMCG, where maybe in the past you had these takeaway meals or TV dinners. Basically, now people are more inclined to order in from outside, basically. Um, of course, innovation is always driven by a desire for growth. So you have manufacturers that are looking for growth. Of course, you have one product in a category, then one brand, one product, then that is actually a predictable growth mechanism, basically growth cycle. Um, but to expand from that and actually increase your number of products in a category or actually go into other categories, so moving into new categories, that is actually a source for growth. Let's say you have a position in breakfast cereals, for example, and you could go into nuts and seeds, dried fruit. You could go into anything that it has to do with yogurt, has to do with milk. There are usually production processes that could be adapted to something else. So when I say from breakfast cereals to milk, of course, it's not the same production process, but a milk producer who's going into cheese or a milk producer is going into yogurt. That's, of course, with regards to the same core supply chain that they have. Actually, that would be a more understandable move. Of course, there are products that are really going together. Let's say indeed breakfast cereal and milk, or breakfast cereal and yogurt. These things are actually mixing quite well together. So to have a brand like that, or to acquire a company that is actually doing that by combining the two. There are examples. I will go into case studies in a moment, but of course, innovation in FMCG also has to do with international markets. So there are markets where consumers actually stumble onto something new. So there are things that are maybe only used in a certain country, and that actually blow over to other markets. So you have innovations that maybe are more geared towards certain markets, obviously. But if you have people who are spending a lot of time in public transport, a lot of time traveling to their workplace, or there are places or countries where that is not the case, yeah, there's maybe a different need in terms of use of products. I'll go into that in a moment. But and last but not least, of course, you have sustainability and marketing trends. So, sustainability would basically be something that is very much a hot topic in Europe, maybe US as well, North America in general, basically, and Asia. Certain parts of Asia, of course, it's also becoming a hot topic. And in essence, people around the world are getting more and more aware of the fact that sustainability is really an issue where, producing things in a sustainable way is the future, with regards to that. So maybe recycled packaging, or things that are really don't produce that much waste. Also in terms of sustainable ways of producing, where you know where your raw materials come from. So there's no slave labor, there's no child labor, there's no unethical production methods, basically. And of course, you have the marketing trends, which is positioning, or adding things to a certain marketing strategy that you are applying for an FMCG product, which in the end doesn't innovate the product so much, but more the marketing behind the product. So those are, in a nutshell, the innovation key points for FMCG. I'll go into some. So first case study I would like to briefly touch on. These are not really case studies, but more cases. Nabati is an Indonesian company, started in Bandung. It's basically not in Jakarta, not in the largest city in Indonesia. It's an empire, so they are a snack company by nature. They used to start with what they call in Indonesian kiloan snack. So basically, they had snack that was sold in bulk. So people would scoop, or they sold it in bags, which are bulk snack products. Um, the second generation, so let's say the father started it, the father and mother started it, and then the children actually took over. The current CEO is actually a visionary leader who has gone from these humble beginnings and built it into international powerhouse for various product categories. Um, the thing that really put them on the map was cheese snacks. So they had wafers with a cheese filling, or they still have that, of course, and that was really the driver for growth. So they were the first one. They stumbled onto that innovation with the R&D process that they had, and they were able to really capitalize on that. So they used to have two major branches, chocolate and cheese, and the cheese was overtaking the chocolate part by a mile. So they could actually run as fast, as you can run, basically, in order to grow. That really catapulted the company from I guess from humble beginnings into the massive international conglomerate that they are now. They have a lot of business units that are added onto it. Um, their focus was international, so the philosophy, because I have the honor to know the owner of Nabati. He explained it to me once, that he said, well, I said, I actually, my father left me a company that was much smaller, of course, than the traditional powerhouse snack manufacturers in Indonesia. So he said, I can never, in Indonesia, I can never grow as fast as them. So I cannot. I have to fight an uphill battle, which makes sense. So his focus was really international. He went into various international markets where they did very well with the concept. It's primarily a cash business. I was told, so where they are actually selling to stores also on a cash basis. Um, so they moved from snacks, which are wafer snacks, basically into biscuits and carbonated beverages, even potato chips and all those things. Cassava chips, I think they had for a while. They tried a lot of different categories. So it's really, I think sometimes. Distributors that are that I know that also distributed my products at the time, they said, "Oh, Nabati is coming with 14 new products in one day." So sometimes difficult to sell, but I mean the idea of snacks was always that you would launch new products, and with the new products, actually the older products would also get a little bit of or the existing products would have actually get a bit of a boost because people would start buying again from the distributor and say, okay, I would like to have that as well, and so that's basically the core of it. So they moved into carbonated beverages as well. There was a bit of a gap in the market, I think, which it fit a bit with the F&B business unit as well, which is called Richie's Factory. So the brand is called Richie's, which is their the cheese snack product. Richie's Factory is more like a fast food chain where they sell chicken and other potato chips and all those things. Potato fries with cheese sauce. So they had cheese is actually really the staple of their success, so to speak. So the carbonated beverages actually were, like Pepsi was almost non-existent in Indonesia. Coca-Cola had a very difficult time. We used to have Big Cola here for a long time, but that company actually after meteoric rise, actually they're still there, but not as widely spread as before. So Nabati was actually using their distribution. They have their own distribution entity as well. They're using that to put the carbonated beverages into the market. Then, like I said, the F&B part is the Richie's Factory, which is of course a not only a food and beverage brand, like a fast food restaurant, quick service restaurant, but they also use it as a marketing tool to actually push all of the Richie's products. They have possibilities to do with the food delivery services, like the Go Food and Grab Food. Gojek and Grab are the two largest food. Shopee Food also is there. Those guys actually can bundle a lot of things, give new products, to try, and they have so many marketing tools with regards to this Richie's Factory that it's quite an interesting development to say, okay, almost every single FMCG brand should have something like that. And like I mentioned, it's a family business, so you have a lot of the second generation, actually, maybe even third generation now, that is entering the business. So you have the CEO, second generation, the CFO, also second generation. So there are a lot of family members in the business. Very tight knit machine, actually. A lot of talent also from outside. They have a couple of people that come from the other major brands because let's admit it, they've become more successful than most of the traditional manufacturers that they were initially shying away from. So they have been able to capture the best of the best from the others, basically. So Nabati, if you look at it, is basically almost like a textbook case of they had a bit of luck, of course, with you can call it foresight, you can call it luck, by diving into this cheese snack thing, which actually really propelled them into to great heights. And then, of course, I have to basically also give credit to Mr. Erwin Lasmanaki, basically, that is the CEO, for having a vision and sticking to it, basically, and not getting nervous when there are some setbacks. So I would say a little bit of luck, of course, visionary leadership, and basically excellent operations on the Nabati side. Basically, my partner actually used to work for Nabati in the financial, the business director side, basically. So just wanted to emphasize that this is probably a gem for Indonesia, definitely as a FMCG company, and they're very active in Vietnam, China, various other markets as well. Then case number two is this Mayora. Mayora is actually quite a large conglomerate. They are also a snack beverage company. They had a lot of products in the market. Bang Bang is a very famous candy bar that they were producing in Indonesia. Um, it's basically a move into RTDT. When I was with Ultra Jaya, we had Teh Kotak. Teh Kotak is basically literally tea in a box, RTDT in a UHT box or a carton packaging, so to speak. Um, the thing with Mayora was they were using plastic bottles. Plastic bottles are inherently cheaper to make than the carton pack, and Ultrajaya was unable to really capitalize on the opportunity because of production shortages. So the company could only grow as much as it could add machines, and Mayora was not inhibited by that because, in essence, if you look at adding more lines with PET bottles, that was actually not a obstruction. If you look at growth in that sense, you can buy PET lines quite easily. It's an investment. So initially they had a line and they were looking for the traction. So initial traction was quite good. They really got the taste, the price, the promotion, and the distribution right. So in essence, with initial traction, they propelled themselves to market leader in a couple of years. So um, it was an opportunity because there was no real king in the market, so to speak. You had Tekotak and Fresh Tea. That Fresh Tea is actually the brand of Coca-Cola. They were vying for the number one spot, and then sometimes Sosro. Sosro is actually the almost like iconic brand in Indonesia, which they bottle Sosro is basically tea in a glass bottle or tea in a plastic bottle, basically. Company was really hit quite hard by the fact that Mayora was actually snapping up this market, so to speak. It was an opportunity to be snapped up because Tesosro, in essence, if you look at it, they were one of the pioneers, but they had taste-wise, they were maybe more geared towards the Central and East Javanese taste. So it's a bit more bitter, a bit more stronger taste, basically. While the the kotak that we had basically at Ultra Jaya was, in essence, it was green tea. It was not even black tea, basically, but also a sweet, very fresh, sweet sort of taste. While Mayora actually was able to really capture the jasmine tea flavor that was needed to basically say, okay, this is actually for the price. It was a good taste, and especially if you cool something, easy to cool also in a chiller. And they were really pushing it out after the initial traction. So it was really an opportunity that they capitalized on. And initially they were flying under the radar because initially all of the other brands were hurting, and we were signaling that Mayora was actually on the rise. We unfortunately were unable to really react to it because of supply problems. Mayora actually did, I would say, it was a brilliant way of capturing this market and becoming the absolute number one at this moment. Um, the thing they were doing now is actually they have this very strong canteen program where they are building habits for kids from a young age. If you actually are, let's say, a kid in a primary school or a high school and you get your lunch in a canteen. It's maybe not every country for people who view this actually have this, but Indonesia definitely has a school canteen system where kids are going, for lunch, and they maybe bring something from home, but usually they buy the beverage at least in the canteen. It's a common thing that where we as Europeans, I'm European, we take a lunchbox to school with maybe some cold lunch. Basically, in Indonesia, still people want to eat something warm, and then normally a beverage like RTD real ready to drink tea, is actually a common thing that they add to it. So if you actually are in that channel, so you're very strong and very active in that channel. That their brand Tepucuk Harum, which is Mayora's RTDT brand, so Tepucuk Harum, mark that brand. It's a very interesting one. Do try it if you get to Indonesia. Um, this is something that builds habits at young age, and they are not just leaving it to chance for the next guy to come in and capture the market. No, they are actually really solidifying and entrenching themselves into this RTDT market. So another example of a company that really came out of nowhere, maybe a little bit of luck also, but they really did their R&D very well. And um, of course, this is a large conglomerate that simply just hit the jackpot, basically. And of course, yeah, you have to give credit to the team behind the Tepujok Harum Rise, that they definitely knew what they were doing, and they still know what they're doing, of course. So well done, guys. So to avoid talking only about Indonesia, I wanted to give you this example from Hindustan Unilever, which is India, of course. Uh, Unilever, of course, is a worldwide market leader in personal care. So they have a lot of different personal care brands. Unilever is probably one of the largest companies in the world, maybe the largest company in the world in that category. And they were looking at extending the market. If you look at market size and market share of their brands. Actually, if you look at going head to head with people in the same category, you go up or down 1%. It's usually already quite spectacular. What they did actually was extend the market for deodorants, which is travel size. So they were seeing the trend, so consumer trend, that a lot of people were in need of that during the day. So they put on the deodorant in the morning, that sort of thing. And they would actually need to top up, so to speak, or refresh themselves during the day, especially you're sweaty, you're working hard, you maybe in public transport. It's maybe not very nice to, not the AC is maybe not that good. So that's basically what they were rolling out at that time, travel size deodorants, and it really did very well for them to be the first mover in that category. Of course, it's copied later on, but I mean, Hindustan Unilever really did their homework, and they moved into that category very early. Helped, of course, by the fact that Hindustan Unilever has very strong, massive rural distribution expansion. So they were expanding very much outside of the, yeah, like the modern trade, and outside of the larger cities. In Just like Indonesia, actually India has maybe a 70-80% of the business is actually maybe even more, maybe closer to 90% is their total volume comes from rural areas. It's very fragmented distribution, obviously, but that's basically the thing. So you're looking at the strength of Hindustan Unilever actually is in that direction. Then we come to another example from Indonesia. So Procter and Gamble, of course, also one of the largest companies in the world in this category. They were actually also looking to shake up the market, and there was a paradigm shift needed. Like if you look at, okay, we're launching something new. So it was not in the size, it was not in the usage, etc. But the innovation was adding perfume. So you have very nice smell for your clothes actually just by adding perfume to your detergent. Others copy the innovation very quickly, obviously, but Procter and Gamble, of course, with the massive distribution that they have, the massive marketing initiative that they could put behind it. Of course, Downy is one of the largest brands in the Indonesian market. They were very quickly able to grow by a couple of points rather than just the 1% up, 1% down sort of thing that you do normally when. So this is actually the paradigm shift, and normally when this sort of new innovation comes, then rather than that back and forth, you have like one shift in market share for a certain manufacturer. Procter and Gamble did a very good job in capitalizing on this by again doing the R&D the right way. Then another one closer to home, indeed, Indonesia. There is a group called Cimory. Cimory, you see the logo in the bottom. Actually, the funny thing is that the logo used to have a Dutch flag and an Indonesian flag on top of the mountain. This is Cisarua Mountain Dairy, so this is a dairy company. Cisarua Mountain is actually part of West Java, Cisarua. If you look at the reason they changed it is, of course, they are an Indonesian company and they would like to do this with Indonesian identity, but used to be a Dutch flag and Indonesian flag because they started their business again as a very small company, I guess, in with the help of retired Dutch dairy experts. So they had a program from the Dutch government. Holland used to be the colonial power in Indonesia. So some of the things that we do to probably make up for all of the the things we've done in Indonesia is to um, give programs like this to various companies to at least have dairy expertise to a company like Cimory. Of course, Holland is very much known for the abundance of cows and expertise in dairy farming and also dairy production. Uh, the Cimory core is actually a diversified group, so they revolve around cattle farming. So they have their own theme park with cattle farming. So they have, of course, a very thriving dairy farm business. They have also meat and they have a lot of premium meat products basically. The way Cimory actually started was they were within dairy was actually the uncrowned king of yogurt drinks, as they would call it. They had a product that was ready to drink. They had like a yogurt drink product that was needed to be chilled. So they had a very costly distribution method for that product. They needed to go directly to retail in most cases, and then they went into paper packaging. So UHT packaging basically to make it the shelf life a bit longer and make the distribution to general trade also a bit easier. They were dragging their feet a little bit to move into fresh milk. I do recall that conversation I had, namely with the owners, that my opinion, the brand Cimory at that time already was very premium and also very ready to go into the fresh milk category. Um, so UHT milk and also fresh milk, as in pasteurized milk. They launched that in the end, and I think at this moment they are the market leader in Indonesia for fresh milk, at least for the pasteurized milk. Of course, the UHT milk side is, of course, still dominated by Ultra Jaya, Ultra Milk, by my old company. Um, one of the other things that I thought they were doing very well is, of course, their premium meat products, Kanzler, which sounds very German, but it's actually an Indonesian brand, obviously. Um, it's a very high quality product range that they have for sausages and breakfast meats, luncheon meats, basically, and things that are anything related to their cattle farming, basically. Um, what I would say is like this company really went forward. It's Papa Mang and you have Pafarel, those the father and the son. There is more family members involved, of course, but those are the people I met personally, and I would say visionary leadership, and of course a cash injection from Creador, the private equity company, basically is one of the things that they propelled them into the stratosphere, and I think they're doing quite well at this moment with regards to their entire business. Again, innovation. So they were looking at innovating in fresh milk, where they have several different flavors of chocolate. So chocolate milk is, if you look at flavored milk in Indonesia, probably 80% of what is sold is chocolate milk. So they diversified it into like various flavors of chocolate. So that's doing very well for them, and they are hitting every single demographic there with their various chocolate flavors. So constantly innovating, constantly bringing out new products. So this is a company that is really going places. I think the sky is the limit for Cimory. So when I say FMCG innovation, and of course where I have my personal experience, I can't leave out Youvit. It's good friends of mine, of course. So a shameless pitch here as well for a great company that I had the pleasure to work in for a while. So the company was actually going into vitamins. So around around 2017 they launched their products. They were basically the category was not yet saturated, but they were innovating in a sense of, okay, there were tablets, there were syrups, and gummy vitamins were there, but it was still very small category. So they were innovating in a way that, okay, we need something that is really, um, you know, yeah, basically a different level altogether compared to what was there. So the number of vitamin brands, of course, really skyrocketed or exploded, almost say, like mushroomed during COVID-19. Of course, a lot of people were more concerned about their health. So vitamin sales were also through the roof. A lot of brands actually jumped into that, and it's been normalized since then. They started also with a kids product. So kids actually, they have this beautiful packaging with like a monster on it, and it was a very high impulse product, basically for kids. Still is. I think they're still the number one kids brand in Indonesia, in the gummy category, definitely. And they moved on to adult and beauty. Adult was there from the beginning, but beauty products. So you're talking about gummy for for hair growth, for your skin, collagen gummies. Basically, they had a product that is a relax gummy, so like to help you sleep, called Easy Sleep. Absolutely brilliant innovations. The CEO and the COO, they are hands-on involved in the R&D process to see what is out there, what else can we do, what very scientific about it, and I would say also very forward thinking about, okay, what's next. And yeah, I think their strength definitely was in the fact that they make an OTC product basically into a mass market appeal product. So still, compared to other vitamins, they're not as expensive, but they have definitely products that also could go into the impulse category, yeah, where you say like they're especially doing well in places where you would not expect vitamins to be sold. Um, this is a company that also constantly looks at where can we innovate, where can we go next, which category can we go. So they had, for example, powder drinks with collagen, also something for fiber fix, basically. So they had a product that actually, if you have constipation or like so, be more, how you say this, more healthy with the digestion system, basically. So these things are all, yeah, part of their innovation and part of where to go next, not only in the gummy part, but of course in other categories as well. The one thing that was quite funny, that was basically the VP marketing who was working there at the same time as me. Actually, he was warning for, okay, maybe you're too innovative, where gummy is of course already quite innovative for a vitamin brand, but to also go into new applications, like for example Easy Sleep, and Kids Vision, for example, where things that are good for the eyesight of kids, by eyesight development of kids. That's something that he was a bit skeptical about at that time, saying, okay, it's more difficult for people to sell because they still have to get used to the idea that adults also can eat vitamin gummies. It was quite a brilliant insight, to be honest. And he turned out to be right to some extent, because, the adult category was still growing less than the kids category. So again, Youvit, brilliant company. I really wish them well. This company also is, I think, a good example of how to develop something from zero, because they really literally started from zero, and they're also developing other markets like Malaysia, Thailand, Singapore. I believe they're looking at other markets as well. So really would like to, in case you haven't tried the product, please do. And then an example of marketing innovation, Wardah. Wardah is a cosmetics brand, so it comes from Paragon Pharmaceuticals. Basically, it's a very big pharmaceutical company, also a big distributor for pharmaceuticals, basically. Um, Now, the thing is that you have to know that every single product that is sold in Indonesia, except for pork and maybe one or two other things, is halal, meaning you have halal certification for everything. But Wardah is actually positioning itself really as the halal brand for Muslims, so Muslimas, female Muslims basically, who want to identify themselves as using halal cosmetics. That was actually the unique selling point of Wardah. And Wardah has actually skyrocketed past most of the existing brands. So this, I have to say, the CEO, a lady, CEO of Patagon, actually was the driving force behind this. She brilliantly identified that there was an untapped need in the market. So in essence, until then, yeah, Muslimas actually, of course, bought the other brands of cosmetics in the market, and she was really positioning her brand as this is for Muslimas. They had all of the communication actually with regards to halal, and I think they also had just a very good quality of product, obviously, because if you're just saying like, okay, this is for Muslimas and this is not a good product, then of course it will not sell. So they had a lot of the value proposition. Dependent, of course, on the quality as well. But I mean, this is a good example of where the product innovation might not have been that spectacular, but more the marketing innovation here. So where currently they're untouchable as the number one brand in Indonesia, by far the largest skincare brand actually in the entire country. Um, I would say, this is a good example of someone who really saw, a visionary leader who actually saw the opportunity, and a brilliant team who actually put it into practice, and yeah, capitalized on the opportunity that was apparently there. Then some wise words before I part ways. In conclusion, we can see like innovation is a way to stay relevant. If you are a market leader and you don't innovate, of course, you eventually go the way of the dodo. You start to go extinct. And of course, you need to have a innovation as a driver for growth, and in some cases, drastic growth. Seeing the examples you just saw, like there are massive growth drivers. If you hit the right category, meaning you have the right product at the right time, and you hit the right button, basically it can it can go as a rocket in essence. And of course, yeah, strategic moves to preempt competitor expansion, meaning like you move into a category, you innovate to a certain category where you will not uh, you know get your core business, so you attack the profit center of a competitor. For example, when I was in Ultra Jaya, we had also sweetened condensed milk, even though the company was definitely a fresh milk company, basically, like a liquid milk company. The sweetened condensed milk product actually was used more to have something to fight Frisian Flag and Indomilk with, the other two large dairy companies in Indonesia. So that's something innovating actually is good for. If you look at, you need to unlock an underserved or unserved need, basically. So if you look at underserved, meaning it's not, there are some offerings, but it doesn't hit the right button. So if you look at, for example, Wardah, the Wardah example, you have a very good example of an underserved need where Muslims apparently really needed a brand that they could identify with. That was Wardah. Wardah became that brand. And an unserved need is basically something that is new and people don't know that they need it. So that's basically a new product innovation where you have to experiment a bit. So I have to warn you, though, a lot of the innovative products fail. Only few succeed. Just to give you an impression, yogurt drinks, I was saying that Cimory was the uncrowned king of yogurt drinks. Now, yeah, that is somewhere in, let's say, 2014 to 2015. They were on the rise with the yogurt drinks. Now, Ultra Jaya had, for example, in the late 90s, they already had a yogurt drink product called Yogo, which failed because it was too early. So they just rationalized it, they just deleted it at the time because the market wasn't ready for a yogurt drink. There was not enough demand for it. So you can be too early sometimes with an innovative product. So I have to say that the market leader in this case was the one who was innovating, but later on, Cimory was actually the one who really made it big and capitalized on it. So I haven't tasted yogo. It was before my time, so I don't know whether it tasted anywhere near the Cimory product, obviously. So, but I'm just thinking, like, it would have had a bit more potential if the timing was right, if they had launched it somewhere, in the last decade or so. Um, Only few succeed, so you have a couple of things you need to experiment. If you say, like this Nabati example, for example, where they're launching 14 products on the same day, now they have no illusion that all 14 products will be massive hits. Now, that's also the thing where constantly rationalizing, okay, what doesn't sell, what is not moving, until you really hit the right spot with products. Um, then, of course, want to emphasize product innovation versus marketing innovation. Sometimes it's not all about the new products or the new features of the products and the new functional benefits of the products, basically, but it can be about emotional benefits of the products, or the marketing innovation, where how you market it. Just to give you an impression that yogurt, for example, there was a very brilliant marketer who, instead of positioning his yogurt actually as a product for dessert, which was at that time what most companies were positioning yogurt for, he said, okay, this is breakfast yogurt. So he's actually taking a specific time of the day to position yogurt, and as a result, a lot of people started to eat it at breakfast because he told them it was breakfast yogurt. So uh, that's marketing innovation in itself. The product was just yogurt, so there's not any difference with the dessert yogurt. So dessert yogurt could have been breakfast yogurt as well, but again, just like Wardah, where you are saying everything is halal, but we are actually the only one claiming that we are a halal, specifically halal sort of product. Um, then why does this positioning make all the difference? So if you look at the way you position your brand is actually going going to determine the success or failure of an expansion, in essence. So if extending a line. So innovation actually is like, oh, you need to go into either product innovation or marketing innovation, and marketing innovation without the right positioning. So okay, this product is actually positioned in this specific category, specific for this specific demographic, basically. Then you have the chance of success if you are basically extending something in a category that it doesn't fit, so it's basically not suited for that sort of consumer. Just to give you an impression, like you had again, I hope my friend is not going to blame me for it, but there's a brand called JJ Royals from the Gulaku company, basically the sugar group of companies. So JJ Royals is the coffee brand that is attached to it. They had it's a very premium brand. I think the number one brand in Indonesia for coffee, for beans, roasted beans, and ground coffee. Delicious coffee. I can heartily recommend it. It's just at some point they went into 3-in-1. 3-in-1 is actually where you have sachets with coffee, creamer, and sugar. I have tasted it. It's quite a good 3-in-1. It just 3-in-1 is not a premium product. So the problem they had was, okay, we are JJ Royal, so we need to get quality as the top thing, basically, for us. It's just that 3-in-1 is actually a category where real coffee lovers will not buy 3-in-1. So that is actually the thing that they were, I think, missing the the point a little bit. I don't know whether the product still exists in the market, but at that time it was quite a good attempt at 3-in-1. But if you say, like, okay, I'm a coffee lover, for example, I would not buy their 3-in-1 because I already buy their coffee beans. Like I have a bean grinder in my house. So um, that's something that was good example of maybe wrong positioning, because where do you position that? They were not really clear on how to position something like that. They were too expensive to be in this mass market segment, because three-in-one coffee. Normally, the cheaper the better. Then it is, yeah, people by the roadside, they will have hot water and they pour a cup of instant coffee like that. And yeah, in restaurants or in domestic homes where people are really, yeah, looking at quality, high quality coffee, the coffee experience, coffee lovers, they will not be found dead with that sort of product. So yeah, that's something that really yeah, makes a difference. Um, and of course, I would like to say, like, it's not always true. Like I mentioned, it's a there are conglomerates that really have R&D at its core and innovation at its core, but mostly smaller players innovate more easily because they don't have any core business that they are focusing on. If you look at what I learned from, for example, working for a large company where we had a very large established brand with established SKUs with certain products that were doing very well for us, that automatically all of our effort was actually in that category because the growth was there. So everything new was actually neglected, quasi neglected, basically, because um, we would have to put the same energy into growing something from, let's say, 10 containers a month to 15 containers a month, or we could grow something from 200 containers a month to 300 containers a month. It's the same effort. So in the end, you're looking at various products that had just more traction. um, so smaller players are not inhibited by this. So if you look at, you can still go into every direction. You don't have star products that are really, determining your focus, so to speak. Oh, this is where I need to go, where people know me from, that sort of thing. So, having said that, most of the companies I just mentioned are major players. Wardah came from zero. Youvit, of course, was a startup, but for the rest, yeah, Nabati as a smaller player, of course, became huge. Cimory as well, but you look at Unilever, Mayora, P&G, those guys actually, of course, were massive companies that already existed and already had a position in another market. But if you look at, yeah, smaller companies, they have the thing that they're not competing for resources with existing brands. So if you look at larger corporations, and innovation normally is a more difficult thing because you need to innovate inside a larger whole, so to speak. So the issue here is that larger corporations, they are competing for resources with innovation because we need to put money into growing our existing brands or maintaining our market position or market share, basically. And of course, there are innovation. What happens occasionally is that this sort of thing is spun off. So there are companies that, or subsidiaries that are tasked with this innovation, or large corporations, they just buy a small brand. So if you look at the trend in the world, and I'm not talking about Indonesia only, but in the world, is that there are smaller FMCG brands that are at some point bought by Unilever or Procter and Gamble, or one of the big ones at least. They actually have a task to scale what these smaller brands are actually about. So what they are actually starting to scale them into big brands. So yeah, there is some traction there. The distribution is, of course, much bigger if you're Unilever or Procter and Gamble, or let's say one of the larger General Mills, for example. That's also one of the larger companies in the world in terms of food. So these guys actually are buying things left and right that maybe fits with their portfolio. Pepsi has, for example, a quite a big portfolio they're building with healthy products, so to speak. You have, of course, Coca-Cola with their own portfolio of brands, not always healthy, but still, it's a impressive number of brands that they have acquired. So this sort of thing comes okay. This is a small brand that has regional attraction, or is growing fast, or it fits a niche that I can use to expand my market or cover an area that I haven't covered yet. So that is why startups and smaller brands are purchased by the big ones and then scaled. So This is the point. So this is the way the world works. Big one eats small one, and in the end, of course, the small one can cash out and start a new brand. So that is actually the interesting part of being a founder of a small brand, of course. Um, and in some cases, smaller brands become big ones. Look at Cimory, look at Nabati. Those are the guys that are really, skyrocketing with regards to, after actually very humble beginnings when they started out, and really hit the right spot. And I think also did the right thing. So smaller players innovate more easily in general. And I think also to look at distribution wise, of course, as soon as they're being acquired or they have a partnership with a larger company, of course, their distribution is piggybacking on on the large company. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. It's quite a long one this time. If you would like to send me an email, alex@devriessalesconsultancy.com. We have a consultancy company about FMCG brands, and we are scaling FMCG companies, of course, in Indonesia, but also the ASEAN region. Do it everywhere. Actually, we do US, we do Europe. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I hope to see you in the next video. Thank you. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.